Recently, but perhaps not recently, but for a long time, mankind has been constantly at war. Constantly, sometimes almost without end, one war after another. Why wars happen? Root causes and deeper analysis. War is one of the most destructive forces in human history. Though each conflict has its unique context, most wars tend to emerge from a few recurring root causes. Here's an in-depth look at the most common and powerful drivers of war. 1. Power struggles and territorial ambition. At the core of many wars lies a desire for power, political, military, or territorial. Nations often seek to expand their borders or assert dominance over others. Examples. World War II was largely ignited by Nazi Germany's quest for Lebensraum, living space, and Japan's imperial ambitions in Asia. Analysis. Power-based conflicts are often preemptive or expansionist in nature. Leaders may exploit nationalism to justify conquest. Control over strategic regions, e.g. sea lanes, trade routes, is frequently disguised as defense or liberation efforts. 2. Resource competition and economic interests. War can be a brutal extension of economic policy. When access to vital resources, oil, water, land, or rare minerals is limited, states may resort to force. Examples: the Gulf War, 1990-91, revolved around Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, heavily influenced by oil and debt-related disputes. Water wars in Africa and the Middle East are escalating due to climate change. Analysis. Scarcity increases desperation. Governments may feel justified in using military force to secure survival. Economic. Elites often benefit from militarized expansion, leading to war profiteering. 3. Ideological and religious conflict. Wars driven by ideology or religion are often the most passionate and long-lasting, as they involve core identity, beliefs, and values. Examples. The Cold War wasn't fought directly, but was a global ideological battle between capitalism and communism. The Crusades and modern-day sectarian wars stem from deep religious divides. Analysis. When ideologies become absolute, opposing views are seen as existential threats. Religious or ideological leaders can mobilize populations with moral justifications, making diplomacy harder. 4. Extreme nationalism and ethnic tensions. Nationalism, when taken to the extreme, fosters an us versus them mindset. Ethnic pride can become toxic, especially when fueled by historical grievances or perceived injustices. Examples. The breakup of Yugoslavia led to ethnic cleansing and civil war. World War I was partly driven by nationalist tensions in the Balkans. Analysis. Nationalist narratives often rewrite history to justify conflict. Marginalized ethnic groups may rise in revolt if denied rights, leading to civil wars. 5. Alliances and chain reactions. Sometimes wars occur not due to the direct dispute between two parties, but because of entangled alliances. One conflict spirals into global war. Examples. World War I started with an assassination but escalated. Due to a domino effect from alliances, NATO and other defense pacts can unintentionally widen local conflicts. Analysis. When defense treaties lack checks and diplomacy, a small spark can ignite a massive blaze. States feel obligated to honor their commitments even when war is avoidable. 6. Breakdown in diplomacy and international systems. When negotiation fails and global institutions like the UN are ineffective or ignored, war can seem like the only option. Examples. The Iraq War, 2003, was launched despite international protests and questionable evidence. Failed peace talks often precede prolonged civil wars, e.g., Syria, Sudan. Analysis. Weak diplomacy is often a symptom of mistrust or competing agendas. Lack of international accountability or enforcement allows powerful nations to act unilaterally. Conclusion: a complex web of causes, war rarely stems from a single cause. More often, it is the product of multiple intersecting factors: ambition, fear, scarcity, identity, revenge, and failure of dialogue. To prevent war, nations and communities must invest in conflict resolution mechanisms, address economic inequality, and injustice, promote education that fosters critical thinking over blind loyalty, support multilateral diplomacy and effective global governance.